Alrighty, I'm just going to assume we're going to start here. Hello, and welcome to Plato's Cave. Coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's right. Oy vey, we got ideas, many strange and wonderful ideas that we would like to share with you. If you like it, stick around. It's all good. It's good. No one will get hurt. The safe word for today is celery. Celery. Okay? Safe word for today is celery. But you know what's important? The station doesn't receive any money from anyone but you. So if you can donate, please do. Any kind of currency is fine, including crypto. That's good. Gold and diamonds, also nice. I like gold and diamonds, if you want to send something to me. But seriously, please donate if you can, and tell people about the station if you can't, because things are tough all over. So maybe you haven't got the spare cash, and we dig it. It's all right. It happens. Okay, today is the 29th of April, 2025, and I think today marks 100 days for Donald Trump. We'll talk about that for maybe a little bit. Catch the cave on the air, on the line, all the time, or on your smart device. So grab it up to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. That's right. They said radio is dead. They said print is dead. They were wrong. Wrong. But you know what? The archives are free. Another good reason to donate or tell people about the station. There's a lot of content there. There's something there for everyone, really, to be honest. It's true. Anyway, before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Mr. Dunger,
it is the Darkinjung. I'll say it again. It's the Darkinjung.
Very good. This time we even heard you. It's all good. And for myself, of course, the Iraq people. And we like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Now, this welcoming to country has sort of gone away in a few places. There was a rugby game the other night where they decided not to do it, Dave. Did you see that? They decided, no, we're going to do that. And the auntie that had been asked to do it was a bit upset. Fair enough, too. So that wasn't maybe the nicest thing to do.
We might see that disperse for only extremely important events.
Well,
not when you start a meeting every day.
Well, I mean, the thing is,
when is it appropriate? Is a good question. Now, at least that's being raised.
Well, I think it's appropriate any time. But I used to work a lot in the mining area, like resources, coal and copper and all that. And every meeting starts with the safety share. Every meeting, invariably. Okay. To hammer home that safety first. Now, once you start not doing something, then it sort of falls by the wayside. And then they go, we really need the welcoming to country only once a year. Look, once a decade is plenty. Hey, once a century, we do that. Once a century, we're full. We're full. Oh, boy, I've eaten all I can. So either we do it or we don't. I'm going to keep doing it, and they can do whatever they want. But yeah, hey, so 100 days. That's where we are. We've done the 100 days. It's a mess. It's a mess. Oh boy, it's a mess. Oh, do you know what I picked up? I've been watching a lot of news feeds and this and that, and especially the comedians are picking it up now. Mm-hmm. You know how I said that Vance killed?
Oh, I've got the meme for that.
It's come out. People have picked it up. I've heard it on what's his Kimmel, and then whatever the other shows are. What's his name? The Daily Show, Jimmy Kimmel, Late Show. And then the Tonight Show. They're all saying what I said. Bloody Steelers.
On WhatsApp, Mackie, I sent you that. The Dalai Lama quietly cancelled a scheduled meeting with J.D. Vance.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Look, I will always say what I think. I know you will do the same. Mm-hmm. And we're on the money, I think, on this one. I really do. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not I'm not so far removed from reality, but we are living in crazy town. Right, mm-hmm. We have been for a while. I think we started boarding the bus to Crazy Town, and then in fact we actually got there, in 2001. It's like, oh, everybody out, crazy town. Okay.
Crazy town.
September 12th, 13, most of us got to crazy town. And it's nothing has ever been the same since. And
but you know what Crazy Town needs, Mickey? Because I've got a meme up on the screen.
Mayor?
Town needs conspiracies. Because this is the funny one. It's a couple ago. It says, anytime I hear someone say the government would never do that, and it's a guy with filing cabinets open. It's the MK Ultra, MK Naomi, Operation Mockingbird. It's all over the place. It's very funny.
Look, and that's really the key thing here, right? People always say, oh, the government would never do this. Oh, this couldn't happen. Or, oh, no, it's just an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's a bad egg. A bad apple, bad egg, bad apple, right? Either. And I'm just going to randomly say a few things here, right? So you got the I guess the best word for it is child abuse in many institutions, not just the churches, but government institutions, orphanages, childcare centers, certainly the churches, Catholic Church, Anglican Church. No church is free of sin here. Then you have the medical experiments on their own populations. Never mind the experiments that were conducted on prisoners of war or foreign populations. MK Ultra, extensive mind control programs inside the United States with the help of educational and governmental institutions.
Oh yeah.
There were the experiments that were conducted, including radiation experiments on populations yet again. The deliberate irradiation of entire native populations, both in the Pacific and on the continental US. Look, these are all facts. This is not made up. And you really still ask yourself, if the government would do that. Putin. Okay, Putin is an extreme case, but hear me out. Putin wants to reestablish the Russian Empire, or as much of it as he can. That's his goal. He sees himself, in the dark line of Peter and Ivan and Stalin, straight to Putin. And the Soviet Union, arguably the Russia that we know today was at the height of its power during the Soviet era. No doubt, Soviet era. So he wants to bring that back. Okay. So you think, he cares about the Russian people a lot, right? I mean, that's the implied point of view here, right? It's the subtext. No. I've been looking at a lot of military analyses, Dave, and including potential coming war threats in the European theater of war, with Russia being the aggressor, and Germany, the Bundesnachrichtendienst, specifically the BND, as well as the Inspector General for the German Army, the Bundeswehr, they've come to the conclusion that it's not a question of if, but when. And when.
Yeah.
And in fact, fairly soon is the answer.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a thing. All right. To the side. And we talked about, as part of these things I was watching, there was also casualty report, right? Conservative figures put the Russian casualties at 950,000.
Nearly a million. That's right.
Both killed and injured. So not all killed, but like losses. That's what they started with when they invaded the Ukraine. That was the standing army they had. So they all knew. Everybody has been recycled into. Now these losses are horrendous. And now the Ukrainians suffered, several 100,000, I'm sure. Harder to get numbers for the Ukrainians, and fair enough, they're not as easily obtainable. But they must have suffered significant losses as well. But a number of things are clear. One, Putin doesn't give a hoot about the Russians.
That's right.
At all. This is an entire generation of young men obviously specifically, that are wiped out, right? Interestingly, what that also did, it saw a massive exodus out of Russia of highly trained, highly motivated, highly skilled, and highly intelligent young people, men mostly, that didn't want to be drafted. So they went out. Like it's to the tune of 1 to 2 million, or maybe more, that left Russia, so they wouldn't be drafted. So there's a brain drain, right? So Russia has shot itself in the foot by by doing what it did. Well, not Russia, but Putin. And then you look at, there was an analysis of the weaponry that was being used as well, and the Russians have lost an incredible amount of vehicles and ordnance, ships, helicopters, fighting planes.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. But what that also means, second point, is that conventionally Russia can't beat anyone. I mean, the only thing they can do is try to overwhelm you with numbers. Mm-hmm. That's what they're trying in Ukraine. As Dave said, the meat waves.
That's right.
That's what they were called. And that's what happened in World War II as well. I mean, they didn't have enough weapons. I mean, it sounds funny, but it's not. Just imagine you're part of a battalion and only half the people have a weapon.
That's right. Well, you're going to run it.
But
World War I, you're going to run it automatic weapons.
Yeah.
Right.
So you got to run.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Sorry. This is World War II, but
yeah, I know.
Because Russia was out of World War I after they killed the Tsar.
Mm-hmm.
But they kept running at the German lines, and if anybody who ran back was shot by the Russian commissar.
What was that town people in the north of France where they, for 18 months, they just kept sending dudes and it just never moved an inch?
Oh, that was World War I.
Yeah.
Verdun. Yeah.
So
yeah.
But a net result of this is, I suppose that if an overabundance of something should mean that the price of it goes down. Because there's too much of it.
You mean human life?
Oh, hey, wait for my set. Like, I'm going on the Russian bride website data here, thinking, well, there's going to be a whole ton of them, at least 1 million, that it's overabundance, and surely that's going to bring the price down. The only data I can find is up to 2018. There were some videos I saw this week that just said, what's wrong with this picture? And it panned through an audience. I don't care what the audience was attending. It could have been, what's her name? Ate or whatever her name is, right? It could have been some concert just that, that had a high percentage of women in the audience, but there were no men.
No, and
in that marrying age, 18 to 35.
And you're right. We will see more Russian brides, for want of a better word. Mm-hmm. The same thing happened in what was the drug country in South America? It'll come to me.
Okay.
In any event, what happened? That all the men were either dead or in prison. Due to the cartel wars.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Costa Rica. No, it wasn't Costa Rica. It'll come to me. And Colombia. That's the one. Colombia. And because my friend married a Colombian lady, and they went there for holiday, and all the ladies were very interested in him. He didn't do anything, but they were just because there were no men.
That's
there
right.
just weren't any men.
That's right.
They were all dead or in prison. And this is now what's happening in Russia. I mean, the same thing happened in China, funnily enough, where the one-child policy led to a deficit of 6 million women.
That's right.
6 million men, arguably, in China may never find a wife because the one-child policy led to more male births.
Yeah, you're not... From a couple's perspective, only having one child means that you're losing your family name. If it's a female, because the male adopts the surname. So in order to protect themselves against that, they would, let's say, unalive the female. I just want to be nice for YouTube. They would choose male only. Let's say that.
Yeah, and look, best case scenario, the child would be given up for adoption. Best case scenario, right? Now, that of course, also came and bit them, and in no small way. And this is what Russia is doing as well now. It's just incredible. So the point I'm trying to make, my second point from earlier, was that clearly he doesn't care about his people. And by extension, and I know that Putin is an extreme example, by extension, and I've said it before and I will say it until I'm blue in the face, none of the political leaders, none of the people that are in charge of significant military machineries and have significant military ambitions care at all about their people. Nobody cares about their people. If you have to send people into harm's way, right, by definition, you cannot care about them as people, right? They are tools. They are tools to be used to further whatever aims you might have, okay? And the aims that people have are to stay in power, to channel as much wealth to themselves as they can. That's any country in the world. It's no different in America or in Bolivia or in the Congo as it is in Australia. It's all the same. It's all the same. And to ensure that the system doesn't change. Okay, those are the things. It's a very nepotistic kind of thing. And once you're in that clique, once you're in that group, you're golden. Okay, you're golden. It's incredible, and they all look after each other. It really is. I mean, the president of Syria, he went to Russia, and they gave him asylum. I mean, it's not like, oh yeah, we get them. I mean, unless you kill the like Saddam or whoever, unless you kill them, Gaddafi, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna be okay. They've got their billions, and that's really where we are. So please, this is really important to understand. They don't care, and the more money someone has, the less they care, in my opinion. There might be exceptions. I'll give you that. But for the most part, because you're no longer a normal person. If you have $1 billion, okay, and that's like the entry level billionaire, this is your first rung on the ladder. You can no longer think in regular human terms because nothing is beyond you, you see. I'll give you a simple example of what that means in a generational context. You've seen Kings and Queens, but we've got a really good example right now, right here, where a journalist, a Saudi journalist, goes to the embassy in Istanbul, of the Saudi embassy, and is killed. And then dismembered and gotten rid of on the orders of the Saudi crown prince. And nobody denies that. I mean, there's no. I mean, he never said he did it, but there's also no real denial, right? And no consequence. But if you have that power over life and death, or other, I mean, that's probably the most powerful thing. But let's say you see a really attractive woman walking on the street, right? If you're a man, or if you're a woman, a really attractive man, and you've got billions of dollars. If you really want to be with that person, for a night or whatever, a weekend, you pay them $10 million you find their price. You find their price and they're yours. Okay. You can no longer think in human terms where human relationships actually matter. You buy and sell at this point, everything and anything. Of course, you can't trust anyone, right? And we can see this now because all the people are falling out of windows in Russia, and Putin, keeping his enemies close and killing them when necessary. That's what happens.
Typical KGB.
That's right. The same thing happens in every country, though. There are a lot of accidents, especially in the States, recently and not so recently as well, where people that just don't fit the bill are sort of retired. There you go. They're retired.
There's a nice one. What about the witness retirement? Right? Yes. Witnesses get retired as well.
They do.
Yeah,
sure.
Because, troublesome.
And look, and here in Australia, now I actually know, I don't know if these, no, it doesn't matter. The point is, there was a lot of witness intimidation, and I'm sure there still is, right? And it works. It works. Why? Because most people are not easily persuaded to participate in violence, I want to say. Most people are peaceful. I want to go as far as saying they're harmless. There's a difference, but I'll explain the difference in a second. They're harmless. So when they're confronted with violence, it's not an easy thing. It's a really hard thing and uncomfortable and really confronting and almost existential, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so intimidation is easy, right? It's really easy because we have created now a couple of generations of children that didn't really have school fights, right? Competition wasn't really big either. I mean, it's still a little, but everybody's a winner. Everybody's an award. The great leveling, right?
Oh,
the great
participation
leveling.
awards.
Yeah. Now, the difference between harmless and peaceful. A harmless person is essentially someone who has no violence in them. Mm-hmm. Literally, none. They're just harmless and they're the salt of the earth and they're the, I mean, if you wanted to have a village, you want a lot of harmless people in there, okay? You want a good wall and gates, but you want harmless people inside that village. A peaceful person is not a person that cannot commit violence. Mm-hmm. A peaceful person has the capacity and the means and the understanding of violence that is required to apply it when necessary, but chooses not to. That's where the peaceful bit comes in. That's the difference between peaceful and harmless, right? And you know who you are out there, I'm sure. Some people don't, and they find out, oh, I'm a harmless person. No, hot dog. Yeah, I'm peaceful. I'm very peaceful. But that was part of my upbringing, so there's nothing you can do about that. It's just life.
So, carrying your thought forward a little, there are people who, they don't call me up, Maggie. The Bill Gates and the Klaus Schwab of the world. They don't call me up and say, hey, Dave, how about a couple $1 million? And I go, what for? Doesn't matter. Uh-oh. That doesn't happen. You saw that Klaus has first announced he was going to stand down and do a slow handover to get out of the WEF, and then suddenly there's an instant resignation, and now there's an inquiry against him for corruption. So was he not, from a WEF perspective, maybe he wasn't as swift as they really wanted. So, even for him, with all of his money, there's still opponents to him.
Yeah.
So having money doesn't protect you from it.
No.
And I mentioned Bill Gates because, he's got to be one of those harmless people, surely, with all of his billions. Yeah.
Bill Gates is anything but harmless. No, but there's something to be said, and this is the thing to understand, right? There are two types of parasites that we talk about on this show. Mm-hmm. Two types. And when I say parasite, you can, if you're still in that mindset, you can call them elite, whatever you like. But to me, they're parasites. One are the parasites that we see, the billionaires, the Trumps, the Musks, the Bezoses, and those guys, the Rothschilds even, okay? Even though they're keeping out of the limelight, but nonetheless, they are the kings, the queens that are still around, all those people. They're the first level parasites. Now, a lot of them are not read into the plan that the actual parasites have. Now, the actual parasites, and if you've been following the hypothesis, by the way, it's almost time for another show on the hypothesis, right?
That's right.
Jeez, time flies. These are the entities, because I'm not sure you can call them human any longer. I'm pretty sure they started out human, right? But they've been around for such a long time and have lived apart from us for such a long time as well that you can no longer truly call them, I guess, human. Maybe human in its ultimate expression of longevity. But if you live for thousands, tens of thousands, and even hundreds of thousands of years, okay, I know it sounds crazy, I get it, but bear with me, then you lose all context, you lose all connection when it comes to us, the mayflies, if you will, right? Because we're just like a little flash of existence compared to their extremely long lifespans. Why would I say that? Because there's ample evidence that it actually happened. And the only reason we die, unless a brick falls on our head, the only reason we age and die is because we got a kill switch. Spoke about that at length before as well. But that'll be part of the hypothesis cycle again, which will probably take 20 shows, if not longer.
If you do it long enough, it'll take the whole 100 shows.
It'll be 100 shows. Oh, we start again. It's like the Harbour Bridge. Oh, we finished painting it. That's what you think.
Always with the painting.
It's funny. I should really try to work the hypothesis into either a serial or a book. I'll try. So. I'll try to do that. But we must understand that these people think differently. So I'm not talking about the top layer parasites for the most part. We are talking mostly about the parasites that we see, that we, the billionaires, etc. The billionaire class, let's call it, right? And they're not as removed, of course, as the top parasites, but they're still removed from us, especially if they're born into wealth. If you had to fight for it, claw your way up, right, then you might retain some connection, but you probably try to get rid of it as best as you can, because it's just ballast. It just doesn't do you any good. Whereas if you're born into wealth and power, you have no compunction about sending your fellow citizens, human beings, into the meat grinder. None. Zero. Okay? It's a completely utilitarian model. Well, Cecil Rhodes...
When they're entirely in charge of everything, it'll be Soylent Green.
Well, yeah, absolutely. There'll be Suicide Smooth on every corner, Soylent Green. You'll be living in a 15-minute city, and you can see green when you paint your walls green. That's when you see green, my friend.
Yes.
Because the trees and the meadows and the glens, the spins and fennies, they're for the
you wouldn't have enough
parasites.
Credit anyway to go and see a tree. Forget it.
That's right. Correct. So that's where you would be, and they would put you in harm's way in a second, because you're expendable. Cecil Rhodes called us the great unwashed, the useless eaters. Right? Now, funnily enough, it was never the elite, never the parasites, the kings, the queens, the priest caste, whoever was on top. It was never them who drove society forward. Conversely, it also wasn't the great mass of people that drove society forward. It was the crazy people, the dreamers, the malcontents, the Daves and Mackies of the world that drove society forward.
Thanks.
Because they didn't fit in, and they had other ideas, and they wanted to do things differently. And for the most, they were either nailed to a cross or burned at the stake or drowned with the carps for their troubles. And then, a couple of generations after they were gone, what they had tried to push hard all of a sudden became the norm, because it made sense. It's just how history works. And
you're lucky if you're remembered as the person who instigated it.
Well, that's true.
Because there'll be some politicians named to
and it. And I don't want to be boastful or prideful, but a lot of ideas have come out of this show over the years.
Yeah.
That I see then afterwards in the world. I didn't see it before. Right? I'm not saying all the ideas, but it's quite a few ideas that we had. And all of a sudden, they pop up. Because you have to ask yourself, where does an idea come from in the first place? Right? They have to be originators of ideas. Like people that think up the joke the first time. You know what I mean? Like people that think up jokes, people that think up stories, people that think up concepts or ideas. Okay? And maybe you're one of those people that thinks up concepts. Maybe you haven't got the math to express it. Maybe you never had the education to fully understand what it is you're doing, but you're putting ideas into the world for the first time. Because it has to come from somewhere for the first time. Okay?
A couple of years back.
And a lot of people steal.
A couple of years back, during COVID, I made up a joke, and it was a blonde and a golf ball walk into a bar, and the bartender says, "What? Is this some kind of joke?"
It's sort of in the dad joke category, which is nice. I like it. I like it. But if you're a creative person, and Dave is a musician, I like to write and other things as well. But if you're creatively gifted, then chances are that you put new ideas into the world. There's a high chance. It doesn't have to be in the thing that, like, doesn't have to be music specifically. It could be a new joke, like Dave said, or lyric, or maybe even just a thought bubble of something. Oh, I love limericks.
Me too.
But it is something within you that creates something new, and that's not everybody. It's not everybody. I want to be very clear. A lot of people lack that creative genius, and I don't mean this from a "well, look, I'm so smart" kind of thing, but this creative spirit, let's call it, not genius.
Not everyone has it. That's right.
Not everyone has it, right? So some people originate ideas. Now, again, it is those idea people that drive society forward. And then eventually everyone follows along. The unfortunate thing is this. The great mass of the people is captured by the parasites through the mechanisms of religion, oppression, fear, uncertainty, servitude, money, greed, all these things that exist to control a large group of people only exist to further the aims of the parasites. Okay, and look, we're all living in a society, right? We're born into it. We don't know any better, and very few of us ever ask questions. I mean, Dave was sent home from Bible study, right? At some point.
Yeah, that's right.
That's no
because
good.
I asked too many questions. I immediately saw the flaw in the story.
Yeah, see, that's no good. That doesn't help anyone.
Independent thought alarm. Out, get out. Woo! You're interrupting the class. You see, Adam and Eve had kids, and then that was all there was, apparently. And then then they left, and they just went over the hill, and there's a whole nother town of people.
Yeah, but these God just made them just like that. Ooh, there they are. So, you see, I warned my kids not to do that. I said to my kids, I said, okay, you know how I think, I said to them, and I know how you think, but sometimes it doesn't pay to question.
That's right.
So don't. And, I mean, if you feel strongly enough, then please go ahead and I will support you. But don't do it just to antagonize, right? If you truly want to understand something better, then by all means, ask the question. But don't do it because you know better, right? Because that'll make you no friends at all. it's a quick.
That's on my resume.
Quick run out of the classroom for you. So you keep your genius and these things to yourself. Now I was lucky because my interest sort of went into the paranormal, which I don't like that term, or even the unusual things like Atlantis, Bermuda Triangle. They fascinated me. So I had my outlet, which to this day fascinates me and really led me down the road to come here. And with Dave, again, I'm sure it's similar. We talked about this many times. You find these things, and you find your tribe eventually. You find your tribe. And your tribe might just be one person. Okay? I mean, ask yourself, how many people can you really talk to, right?
Yeah.
And if you talk about sports a lot, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not judging.
No,
okay? If that's what you like to do, it's all good. I dig it. But then ask yourself, how many people do you really talk to? I mean, really. If you're listening to the show, if you're listening to the station, then you're a certain kind of person to start with. I mean, you might be a tourist. That's okay. You might be with the government. That's okay. We love the leader.
All the leaders and the AI.
AI leaders. Or you might just be a seeker, like we are, trying to figure out what it's all about. And, then this is for you. This is for you. But yeah, so please don't make the mistake of thinking that any of these billionaires want to do anything for you. And the reason I keep bringing it up, because right now there's a billionaire in charge of the largest and most powerful country in the world that has surrounded himself with billionaires and fox anchors. That's his cabinet. Billionaires and fox anchors. That's what he's got. And it's not working. And it's now starting to affect everybody else on the planet. If it was just America, I'd give it a rest. I'd say, okay, you know what? I dig it, fine. You know what they're predicting, Dave?
No.
They're predicting a recession now apparently has a 90% chance for the States.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And secondly, they're thinking in about 2 weeks' time, the major retailers will be looking at empty shelves.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Also, another thing happened that
Also,
we
here
talked
we
about.
go.
You know what we talked about the production, et cetera, et cetera. Trump wants to bring manufacturing back to America. Okay, I get it. I dig it. All right. But do you remember we discussed this, and I said he's not going to bring. Nobody's going to go from China to America. And lo and behold, Apple is moving its production facilities from China to India. That's right. Because that's the same as going back to America, right, Dave? It's the same, isn't it? That worked. I mean, you have to be moron to think that they would actually come back to the States. I mean, hello, anybody home, McFly?
The transition, like I said before, the transition from anywhere to any new place isn't to immediately let go of your current supply chains and then build the new ones. Because there's going to be a gap. All you've done is created a gap. So that's wrong. You should immediately commence the supply chain creation in the new place and then safely hand over from one to another. At some point, usually at the anniversary of contracts, because they're not going to all coterm. It's not a thing. So if you sever a contract, you end up with an ETC. That's an early termination cost. Mick and I know about this. It's in IT a lot. Oh, why can't we just stop using it? Well, you've got to keep paying it because you're in a contract. But what happens if we just cancel it? You've got to pay the contract out. Or
but I don't want it anymore. Don't you understand?
Yeah, they're good. Good. We won't use it. It'll be in the dumpster where you're still putting all the money into the same dumpster. Doesn't matter where the money goes. It's you've paid for it. So why don't we move the date so they barely overlap each other? Don't just come in and delete the other one. It's useless. You're right, Mickey. It's the management, the poor management of trying to create manufacturing from scratch by leaning into all of your supply chain owners and saying, well, you won't get charged tariffs if you build it here. And they go, yeah, that's grand. It takes us years to stand this stuff up. Yeah, woo, right? It's never going to happen you can't do it today. You just can't do it today. Make it a 10-year project or something like that. You'd be happy.
Yeah, 10 years is good.
Yeah. So, Mackie, I sent you a screenshot, like an image into WhatsApp, but when we were talking about MK Ultra and mind control, and then you mentioned education, I had a sudden epiphany, and that was the US government's involvement in using subjects from the school or education system. And I thought, how long ago was it that they had hands in pocket financially? And I've found a really well put together timeline of American education. And it says federal government's growing involvement funding education with the passage of the 1965 Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which would have immediately given them access to those people, Mackie. 65. Yep. Then in 79, they created the Department of Education. And that's what they've said that they've demolished now this year. Get rid of it. We don't need a federal government department looking after education anymore. Australia has a very similar thing. Our states receive money earmarked for education and for health into our independent states as a divvy up of taxes. However, the state that receives the money just goes, what's that post-it note on there that says education? Woohoo, look at all this money we have. There's no responsibility for our states to spend the money they receive a one-to-one on the thing they were earmarked for. That's crazy when you think about it. That's why I've been in favour of abolishing state governments and only have local and federal. That could be one way. Or get rid of the federal government should only be geopolitical, and that's it. And then states should look after each other, after themselves, and then local government should know what's really happening on the ground. It's a visibility matrix, Mackie.
It is. Look, the way education is being handled, and we've discussed it before, right? What you really want to do is completely start over from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And look at the biological and mental needs of children.
Yeah.
Right? Is it normal for a child to sit still for 5-6 hours a day if they're like
all.
6? Yeah. It's not, exactly. So.
And zip ties are out. I've asked.
Zip ties. No more zip ties. Yeah, that didn't test well. What? Razor wire doesn't work either. So what they the reason it of course the reason it came about is because these days, it used to be in the old days to create people that were more minded or could more easily be turned into soldiers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day. But now it is about making sure that you are fit to exist in society, to fulfill
in the modern workplace. Back 20
whatever your
years
niche
ago,
is, as a factory worker, construction worker, office worker, well, whatever the case may be. Right?
Yeah.
Now, bear in mind that public education is a fairly recent thing, only a couple hundred years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Before that, education was usually administered by the churches or by
clergy,
religious institutions. Right? I mean, very few independent universities existed, or schools for that matter, and really only the rich could afford to.
That's true.
Have their children schooled, as it were.
And remember, reading and writing wasn't very well represented in across your citizens. It wasn't something that was very, very well learned, and a lot of people just lent on others for reading and writing.
Yeah, there would be it was like a service to have your letters written or read to you or books, etc. So it's like a public service.
Yeah,
and in fact, prior to Gutenberg, right, and the invention of the printing press, which was in the 15th century, right, books were handwritten and therefore extremely rare. They would only the monks could write maybe only 10 or 20 copies for each book.
That was the photocopy machine. Yeah.
Correct. So, in that way, the Sumerians were way ahead of us with their cuneiform tablets.
That's right. Yes.
But once the books became more available, then more and more people could read. But the public education really only started in the last wave of the Renaissance, and I guess with events like the French Revolution, where citizens all of a sudden became as valuable as aristocrats. I mean, the French executed their rulers. They chopped their heads off. That's what they did. I mean, it's a regicide, almost unthinkable, unless it was done by another king or a nobleman. But regular people killing a king or a queen, almost unthinkable. But they did, which ushered in the era we live in today. And then you've got other developments. I guess there's this renaissance afterwards of thought. Of the human being as being valuable, individualism rather than the collective, and how we have individual rights. Started with the Magna Carta, was then went into the French Revolution, the American Revolution, and the Bill of Rights and then various law books and constitutions that we have today. But it's very thin ice we're standing on, and it hasn't been very long that we've had all of this, right? And we can see the efforts of the parasites to dismantle all of these things: the unions, the democratic processes, the bureaucratic institutions, right? There's this massive effort underway to dismantle it all, right? And most people, honestly, if you take someone's job away, for example, right? Most people wouldn't care if they got a living wage and just were told you live here now, that's your life.
Yeah.
A lot of people would adjust. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So we have to be vigilant, but I fear, Dave, the vigilance that we should have is out the window. Imagine all the things, I know we spoke about this before, but imagine all the things that are happening today. And then try to imagine how they would have happened in the 1940s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Would it? Could it? Should it? I don't think so.
No. You're absolutely right.
So.
You're absolutely right. So we have an election coming up this weekend. And I've been watching with bated breath what both main parties are talking about and what my friends are talking about. What are the policies? I did the vote compass. I did it, and it didn't surprise me at all because I go by policy. But I still hear people with inherited opinions. My daughter said, "Oh, who should I vote for?" I said, "It's not up to me. It's up to you. You're 18. I sent you the compass. Just go through the questions, and whatever it spits out at the end, that's who you vote for." That's how easy it is. In fact, our voting system should be that very thing. It should be just policy based. Since every denomination, I suppose, of political party has a different set or criteria of policy, that should solve everything. The party would be then irrelevant. Only after it would win, it should then say, well, here's our spokesperson. Not leader, spokesperson for the party politics.
Our parties no longer reflect reality in our countries. You're 100% on the money there, Dave. It's something that needs to happen. Will it happen tomorrow? No. It will not happen tomorrow. Is it going to happen at all? I want to say yes, simply because it's, to me at least, it's inconceivable to think that we're going to go on like this forever. So whatever comes next, and something else will come our way now, because that's where we are. It's either going to be much, much worse, or it's going to be better, right? But it's not going to be the same. Well, we don't know. What
I like the first option. I think the much, much worse is better than same old. Same old,
yeah.
I like
but
the
it has to be different.
Mickey, of that AI thing, of direct democracy and AI. So the corruption's gone, everything's run without interference, say. Because the interference of money down the money chain, of people taking a little bit every time it touches someone else's hands, or some new department, someone scamming the system, that's all wasted money for me. That's the way I see it. And you don't get the outcome that you're paying for. If I had to, I swear this has happened. If I say to my kids, all right, you want to walk down a shop and get yourself something? Here's $20. All I ask is that you bring me back X, whatever it is. And they come back without the thing. Their tummies are aching because they ate nothing but lollies when they were kids. They didn't get me the thing I wanted, and then I didn't even get the change. And that's what our world's leaders in their political systems are doing to us. They promise a whole bunch. Oh yeah, I'll go and do the thing. You give me the money and I'll get it done. And then there isn't the reward at the end. Where's the thing I wanted done? I had to simplify it.
No, you're 100% on the money, and this is really the fundamental issue that we're facing. We're in a system that was designed a certain way, and I believe initially, in many cases, with the best intentions, right, to actually create something that would work. And over time, of course, human nature, right? And when human nature happened, it all fell apart. But you know what led to that? Let's call it downfall. Is we lost our common platform, common morality, and common ethics, right? And globalization went a long way towards diluting our base values. Now, I'm not a bigot, and I'm not saying we have to believe this, that, the other. But the truth is, when countries were more independent and not so intertwined with other countries, and there wasn't as much migration as there is today, you could say countries were more, I guess, uniform in many ways, right? Even though that's not entirely true, because there's always variations and variety, especially in areas where there's a lot of mixing of people naturally through trade routes, etc. But there were common moralities and common points of view that kept communities and even nations together. That is out the window. Okay, I'll give you a simple example of this. This has got nothing to do with religion or even politics. When I grew up in Germany, every Saturday in summer, there would be between 8 and 10 or 10:30 on a Saturday evening, they would broadcast a program, and this program would usually run for 4 or 5 Saturdays. It's like a mini series, right? And everybody in Germany would watch it, like 60 million people in West Germany, right? Well, not everybody, but the vast majority of Germans would go home and watch that program. Really interesting stuff like the Count of Monte Cristo, other miniseries as well, like the Thornbirds, etc., right? But it was a communal experience, right? And that doesn't exist anymore after, with the internet and
the shared
pay TV
experiences. No.
Gone. And it was similar for other things. In summer, again, on a Saturday on a different program, you would be able to vote for a movie. There'd be 3 movies that would be on for Saturday night, 8 p.m. And we could dial in, and whoever got the most votes, that's the movie you watched, right?
I've seen some community shows like that.
Yeah.
Community stations.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't always get your movie. I got my movie most of the time, which was great. But my point is, this was a massively communal sharing event. This was, and you could feel it. You could feel it. And the Christmas programs that used to be on, I knew that millions of other people would be watching the same Christmas program as me as a child. One was called, Waiting for the Christ Child to come and bring you presents, because in Germany it's not Santa Claus, it's the Christ Child that brings you presents. And that's gone, Dave. We have lost that common thread. We have drilled down too much in the individual and the minority groups. I hate to say it, but that's where we are.
We've all been separated from each other.
Correct.
That's the net result. We talked about, Mickey's talked about shared experiences, and I totally agree. We went to the cinema the other day to watch the Minecraft movie.
Yeah, same.
We, as the whole family, we went. It was fun.
Yeah.
And my kids, 2 days before, Minecraft, and they started playing it, and they go, Dad, you gotta join us. So I do, and now they've seen the movie. I'm the one that's still playing Minecraft, and they're not.
Oh.
Right? We did some really cool stuff together, and they remember the time. I can't believe, Dad, that you understood what Redstone did, and I made a mob spawner that was just giving us free everything. It was spawning everything into it and they're all dying. And I had a train underground that would ship the stuff around to our lairs, and I hollowed out a mountain as a lair. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But that shared experience that we had, we don't get as a family. We don't sit down and watch a movie all together at all. We don't get to watch TV shows together. My kids are now old. Yeah,
that's it.
And they're
young, you're so old. That's the difference.
Yeah. And
but it is that. But that's critical. So
build a foundation.
We have dinner
of shared experience.
Yeah, you have to have it. We have dinner every night, pretty much every night together, every night, and most of the, and we cook as well ourselves. And the shared experience Dave just said are critically important for the family unit, but it's also good for the kids to have that as a memory, Dave. Obviously, what you've done is great. So, look, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I know it is getting to that point. This has been this has been Plato's Cave, not the Shining Setup. That's on Sunday, and we're going to be going on with the mind control program for quite a while yet. So yeah, this is Plato's Cave. Hopefully you did enjoy some of the things we talked about. If there's something you wanted to talk about, just tell us, and hopefully you can subscribe, and join us, or either Shiny Side Out or Plato's Cave. I don't really care, and it really helps. Our membership is not huge. Don't go anywhere. Something is going to come up, I'm sure. But for the most part, Dave,
be safe.
I can't use the group that you created for some reason. The radio show group, I can't use it.
Yeah, it's weird.
No, it's okay. I mean, if you start